Madi was not born invisible. She became invisible slowly, shaped by glances that lingered too long, by voices that lowered when she passed, by doors that were never opened for her. As a child, an illness took hold of her body and left lasting damage, weakening her legs and altering the way she moved through the world. She survived, but survival came with a cost. Every step afterward reminded her that she would never move at the same rhythm as everyone else. What hurt more than the pain in her joints was the way people learned to look past her, as if her difference erased her presence altogether. After her parents died, the fragile balance of her life collapsed completely. Her brother took control of the family's possessions without asking, without listening, without remorse. The house that once held warmth, laughter, and the last traces of her mother's care was sold as if it were nothing more than an inconvenience. That house was more than wood and walls to Madi. It was proof that she had once belonged somewhere, that she had once been loved without conditions. When it was taken from her, she lost not only a home, but the final place where her existence felt justified. She moved into her aunt's house, but shelter did not mean safety. Every word spoken to her carried judgment. Every sigh reminded her that she was seen as a burden. She was tolerated, not welcomed. She learned to keep her voice low, her movements careful, her needs invisible. Even kindness, when it appeared, felt temporary, as if it could be withdrawn at any moment. The town mirrored that same cold distance. People avoided her gaze, whispered behind her back, and treated her presence like an omen of bad fortune. To them, she was not a woman with dreams or memories, only a reminder of fragility they did not wish to confront. Yet, Madi endured, not because life was gentle, but because she refused to let bitterness consume what little hope she had left. At night, she found solace in small escapes. In a dimly lit bar, hidden among shadows and music, she could sway to the sound of a piano without being watched too closely. In those moments, her uneven steps disappeared, replaced by a quiet freedom. For a short while, she felt like an ordinary woman, breathing in a world that did not demand explanations. Those moments never lasted, but they kept her spirit from breaking. Hope returned to her life in an unexpected and fragile form. One afternoon, while running errands in town, she noticed a small notice posted near a shop entrance. A fisherman living outside town was looking for help at home. It was not much, just a few words on worn paper, but to Madi it felt like a door cracked open. Jobs were rare, and opportunities for someone like her were rarer still. She understood the risk. She knew rejection well. Still, something within her stirred, urging her forward. That evening, she chose her best clothes, carefully pressed and modest, and put on shoes that made walking harder but helped her feel dignified. The road to the fisherman's house was not long, yet it felt endless. Each step required effort. Each pause carried doubt. She rehearsed her words in her mind, reminding herself that she was capable, that she could work, that she deserved a chance like anyone else. By the time she reached the door, her legs trembled, but her resolve did not. She knocked, standing straight despite the pain. When the door opened, the man who faced her did not smile. His eyes assessed her quickly, without warmth or cruelty, but with a distance that told her she did not match his expectations. She introduced herself calmly, her voice steady even as her heart raced. She spoke of her willingness to work, her determination, her need for nothing more than a place to stay and the chance to earn her keep. The silence that followed felt heavier than any insult she had endured before. At that moment, Madi did not yet know that this encounter would change the course of her life. She only knew that she had stepped beyond the limits imposed on her, that she had walked toward uncertainty with nothing but courage and quiet dignity. In a world that had long forgotten her, she stood at the threshold of something new, unaware that this single knock would echo through the rest of her story. Everest lived where the town ended and the road grew quiet. His wooden house stood apart from others, close to the water, shaped by wind, salt, and years of solitude. People in town knew him only by reputation. A fisherman with a bad temper, a man who spoke little and frowned often, someone better avoided than approached. Few cared to ask why he was the way he was. Fewer still imagined that behind his rough silence was a life shaped by abandonment, not cruelty. Everest grew up without parents, raised in an orphanage where survival depended on learning quickly how not to be weak. Words were never a safe tool there. Speaking too much invited ridicule. Explaining oneself only gave others something to use against you. As a child, Everest learned that silence protected him better than honesty ever could. When other children mocked him for his awkward speech and blunt expressions, he responded the only way he knew how, by becoming harder, sharper, and more distant. Over time, that hardness settled into his bones. By the time he reached adulthood, solitude felt natural. He worked with his hands, not his voice. Fishing demanded strength, patience, and endurance, qualities that never asked him to explain himself. The sea did not judge him. It did not mock his silence or misunderstand his intentions. Wood and tools treated him the same way. When he repaired nets or built furniture, things made sense. Cause led to effect. Effort led to results. Human relationships, by contrast, always felt unpredictable and exhausting. Everest's days followed a strict rhythm. He rose before dawn, went out on the water, returned late, and ate whatever was available without complaint. His house reflected that routine. It was functional, not comfortable, clean enough, but empty of warmth. There were no decorations, no signs of sentimentality, not because he disliked beauty, but because he had never learned how to make space for it. To him, comfort was a luxury meant for people who had someone waiting for them at the end of the day. Despite his independence, there was one truth Everest could no longer ignore. He was exhausted. The work left him little time or energy to care for himself. Meals were irregular. Clothes went mended too late. Small tasks piled up until they became burdens. He did not want companionship, but he needed help. That need unsettled him more than he liked to admit. Relying on others felt dangerous, like opening a door he had spent years keeping locked. Posting the notice for help was an act of reluctant surrender. He expected someone strong, efficient, and capable of working without questions. Someone who would not require explanations or patience. When days passed and no one came, irritation replaced expectation. The silence confirmed what he had always believed. People avoided him, and he was better off alone. When Madi appeared at his door, she did not match the image he had in mind. Her posture was careful, her movements uneven, her presence quiet. At first glance, Everest saw inconvenience, not courage. His instincts told him she would slow him down, that she would need more than she could give. He did not intend to be cruel. He simply did not know how to soften his thoughts before speaking them. Still, he invited her inside, not out of kindness, but habit. He offered tea, listened without interruption, and let her speak. Her voice was calm, steady, and free of self-pity. She did not ask for sympathy. She asked for a chance. That unsettled him more than desperation would have. Everest was used to people demanding or retreating. Madi did neither. She stood her ground quietly, as if dignity were something she carried within herself rather than borrowed from others. When he refused her, it was not anger that guided him, but fear. Fear of responsibility, fear of failing someone else, fear of being seen too closely. He walked her to the road, not as a gesture of kindness, but to ensure she would not be harmed by the children who sometimes threw stones at those they deemed different. He did not explain this. He never explained anything. As he turned away, something lingered. Watching her walk slowly back toward town, Everest saw a reflection he did not expect. A person shaped by neglect rather than choice. Someone who had learned to endure silence, not because they preferred it, but because the world offered no better option. That recognition unsettled him deeply. Later, when reminded that no one else had answered his notice, Everest faced a truth he had long avoided. Perhaps being difficult was not the same as being strong. Perhaps his isolation was not protection, but habit. Giving Madi a chance would not only test her ability to work, it would test his ability to coexist with another human being. Behind the fisherman's rough silence was not cruelty, but a man who had never been taught how to ask for connection without fear. And in that quiet moment of hesitation, his life stood on the edge of change, even if he did not yet have the words to name it. Everest's decision to let Madi stay was not announced with warmth or reassurance. It arrived quietly, almost reluctantly, as if spoken words might undo it. He did not apologize for turning her away the day before, nor did he explain the change of heart. He simply told her she could try, not because he believed in her, but because something within him resisted closing the door completely. It was not generosity that guided him, but a hesitant curiosity about whether two people accustomed to being alone could share the same space without harm. Madi understood this unspoken condition. She did not celebrate, did not ask questions, and did not mistake the opportunity for acceptance. To her, a chance was enough. She arrived with few belongings, carrying them carefully as if they could break. When she crossed the threshold of the wooden house, she did so with the awareness of someone stepping onto uncertain ground. This was not a rescue, it was a test, and she intended to pass it through effort rather than words. The first days were heavy with tension. Everest watched closely, his silence sharp and his expectations unyielding. He wanted efficiency, order, and proof that his decision had not been a mistake. Madi moved slowly, but deliberately. Each task took her more time than it would have taken someone else, yet she completed them with focus and care. She cleaned, cooked, and organized without complaint. When pain forced her to pause, she waited until she could continue. She did not explain her limits. She simply worked within them. Misunderstandings arrived quickly. Everest's temper flared when things were not done the way he expected. He mistook unfamiliarity for carelessness and silence for defiance. His words were blunt, sometimes cutting, shaped by years of defending himself with harshness. On the first night, frustration overwhelmed him. He accused Madi of intruding, of touching things she should not have touched, of slowing him down. His voice rose, and before restraint could catch up with impulse, he told her to leave. Madi did not argue. She gathered her belongings quietly, as if this outcome had always been waiting. Yet something stopped her from walking away completely. She slept outside the house, resting where she could, and returned before dawn. When Everest came downstairs the next morning, he found her cleaning the floor carefully, her movements precise despite exhaustion. Breakfast was already prepared. The house, usually silent and empty in the mornings, felt different, not brighter, but inhabited. Everest did not thank her. He did not speak at all. He ate, put on his coat, and left for work. In his silence was an unspoken decision. She could stay. For Madi, that quiet permission carried more weight than any promise. She resumed her work without hesitation, aware that her presence remained conditional. Stability, she knew, was something earned repeatedly, not granted once. As days passed, the house began to change in small, almost imperceptible ways. Dust disappeared from forgotten corners. Meals became regular. Objects found places they had never had before. None of this was dramatic, but together it softened the edges of Everest's routine. He noticed these changes without acknowledging them. Acknowledgement required vulnerability, and vulnerability was something he had never learned to manage safely. Sharing space forced both of them to confront habits formed in isolation. Everest was rigid, protective of his territory, and quick to assert control. Madi was cautious, observant, and skilled at reading moods shaped by years of navigating other people's tempers. She learned when to speak and when silence was safer. He learned, slowly and unwillingly, that her presence did not weaken his independence. It challenged it, but did not erase it. There were moments when the distance between them felt unbridgeable. His words sometimes reduced her to a role rather than a person. He reminded her that she was there to work, not to belong. Each reminder stung, but Madi endured them with the quiet resilience that had carried her through a lifetime of dismissal. She did not expect fairness. She expected survival. Anything beyond that felt like an unreasonable hope. Yet something subtle took root between them. In the absence of affection, there grew familiarity. In the absence of kindness, there emerged consideration. Everest began to notice her effort, even when he refused to praise it. Madi began to sense that beneath his harshness was not malice, but fear shaped into habit. They did not speak of these realizations. They existed only in gestures, in pauses, in the gradual easing of tension. This was not the beginning of love. It was the beginning of coexistence. A door left ajar, not opened wide. A fragile agreement formed not by trust, but by endurance. Two people, each shaped by rejection, learning that sharing space did not always require surrender. Sometimes, it only required the courage to remain. For Madi, painting was never a hobby. It was a refuge, a quiet place where pain loosened its grip and the world slowed to a pace she could bear. Long before she arrived at the wooden house by the sea, she had learned that words often failed her. People interrupted, corrected, dismissed. A brush, however, asked for nothing. It listened without judgment. When she painted, her body still hurt, but her mind found order. Lines became steady. Colors found balance. In those moments, she belonged to herself. At first, she painted discreetly, careful not to draw attention. A small corner of the house, a bare wall that no one seemed to care about, became her canvas. She worked quietly, often while Everest was away, choosing times when she would not be questioned. Each stroke was deliberate. She painted simple things at first. Animals she saw every day, light moving across wood, shapes that felt familiar. The wall slowly changed, and with it, the atmosphere of the house. What had once been empty now carried traces of warmth. Everest noticed the changes immediately. He said nothing. His eyes lingered for a moment longer than usual when he passed the wall, but his expression remained guarded. He was not used to beauty appearing without permission. In his world, things existed for a reason or not at all. Decoration had never seemed necessary, yet he could not deny that the house felt different, quieter, but not empty, lived in, without feeling invaded. When he did speak, his words were practical, almost dismissive. He told her not to paint near his tools. He warned her to keep certain areas untouched. His tone suggested indifference, but his actions quietly contradicted it. The next morning, Madi found several wooden boards, sanded smooth, and placed along the path she often walked. The surface was even, free of splinters, ideal for painting. He did not explain why they were there. He did not need to. In his language, preparation was the closest thing to care. Madi understood. She had learned long ago that affection sometimes arrived disguised as distance. She painted the boards carefully, grateful not only for the surface, but for what it represented. Someone had noticed her struggle. Someone had chosen to ease it without demanding acknowledgement. In return, she respected his boundaries. She avoided the spaces he protected, leaving his corner untouched. Trust, for both of them, was built through restraint rather than closeness. As her paintings multiplied, the house transformed. Colors softened the rough wood. Familiar scenes brought movement into stillness. Everest began to linger longer after work, sitting quietly while she painted. He did not comment on technique or meaning. He simply observed, absorbing the calm that settled over the room. For a man who had spent his life bracing himself against the world, this quiet companionship felt unfamiliar, yet not unwelcome. Madi, in turn, noticed the small adjustments he made. Paths repaired where she often stumbled. Objects moved slightly closer so she would not have to strain. New jars of paint appearing without explanation. Each gesture was subtle, easily denied if questioned, yet together, they formed a pattern she could not ignore. Care was present, even if words were absent. There were moments of tension. Everest still struggled with control, with the fear that closeness might cost him something he could not afford to lose. When frustration surfaced, it came out as sharp remarks or rigid rules. Madi learned not to take these moments as truth. She recognized them as defenses, not reflections of how he truly felt. She responded with patience, not submission. She continued painting, continued caring for the house, continued existing fully rather than shrinking herself to fit his moods. Slowly, Everest changed. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough to matter. He stopped complaining when paint dust lingered. He began to ask questions, indirect and clumsy, about what she was working on. He learned which colors she preferred and which ones soothed her when her hands ached. These were not gestures of romance. They were acts of attention. And for a man like Everest, attention required courage. Between the brush and the wall, something unspoken took shape. They did not name it. They did not need to. In the shared silence of the wooden house, care found a way to exist without demanding recognition. Two people who had learned to survive without kindness were slowly teaching each other that tenderness did not always require permission. Sometimes it simply appeared quiet and steady, like color finding its place on an empty wall. Love did not arrive in their lives as a sudden declaration. It emerged quietly, shaped by routine, patience, and a growing awareness of one another's presence. By the time Madi's paintings began to draw attention beyond the wooden house, she and Everest had already learned how to share silence without discomfort. They moved around each other with an ease that came from familiarity rather than intention. What once felt like intrusion now felt like balance, and balance slowly turned into something neither of them had expected to name. The recognition of Madi's work began modestly. A visitor noticed the paintings on the walls, lingered longer than expected, and asked questions with genuine curiosity. For the first time, Madi felt her art being seen rather than tolerated. The validation was gentle, not overwhelming, but it awakened a confidence she had long kept hidden. She painted with renewed focus, no longer shrinking her talent to fit into small corners. Everest watched this change carefully. He did not interfere. He adjusted. He learned to step aside when her concentration deepened and to stand guard when the world outside became too curious. As Madi's sense of purpose strengthened, so did her voice. She spoke more openly, not loudly, but with clarity. She expressed needs without apology and opinions without fear. Everest found himself listening, truly listening, in ways he never had before. It unsettled him at first. Listening meant allowing someone else's world to exist alongside his own. Yet he discovered that her presence did not diminish him. It expanded him. Her steadiness softened the edges of his rigidity, and her resilience mirrored his own in unexpected ways. Their decision to marry was not born from tradition or pressure. It came from recognition. They understood each other's limits, wounds, and silences better than anyone else ever had. The ceremony was simple, devoid of spectacle. No audience was needed. What mattered was the promise implied rather than spoken. They chose to walk forward together, not because life would become easier, but because facing it together felt honest. Marriage, for them, was not an escape. It was an agreement to continue growing without pretense. Life after marriage did not suddenly become gentle. Madi's work gained attention, and with it came noise, expectations, and strangers eager to define her story. Everest struggled with this shift. He had spent his life avoiding attention, and now it surrounded their home. His discomfort surfaced in small ways. He grew quieter. He guarded their space more fiercely. Madi noticed, and instead of confronting him, she reassured him through constancy. She returned to the house each day, grounded in the same routines they had built together. Fame touched her work, not her priorities. In time, Everest began to change in ways even he could not explain. He took pride in her success without claiming ownership over it. He learned to step back when she needed room and step forward when she needed support. He drove her to deliver paintings, waited patiently during conversations he barely followed, and defended her presence without raising his voice. These were not gestures he would have recognized as love before. Now, they came naturally, shaped by care rather than obligation. Madi, too, evolved. She learned that accepting love did not require proving her worth repeatedly. She allowed herself moments of rest without guilt, moments of joy without fear. She painted not only pain and memory, but hope, humor, and quiet contentment. In doing so, she transformed the space they shared into something living, something reflective of who they had become together. Their home no longer felt like a shelter from the world. It felt like a place of arrival. When love learned to grow between them, it did so without spectacle. It grew through listening, through restraint, through the courage to remain open in the face of uncertainty. Madi and Everest did not become perfect. They became honest. And in that honesty, they found a bond strong enough to hold both their scars and their dreams, steady enough to endure whatever waited beyond the door. Truth has a way of arriving when a life finally feels stable. For Madi, it came not as a dramatic revelation, but as a quiet confession spoken too late to be undone. The past she had sealed away for years returned without warning, carried by a voice that trembled with age and regret. She learned that the child she had believed lost was never gone. Her daughter had lived, grown, and been raised far from her reach. The knowledge did not bring relief. It brought a grief deeper than mourning, because it demanded restraint rather than release. Madi did not react with anger. She did not demand explanations or justice. Instead, she listened, absorbing every word with a stillness that frightened even herself. She understood immediately what the truth required of her. Love, in its purest form, was not reunion. It was distance. Her daughter had been given a life unmarked by illness, hardship, or abandonment. To appear now would not heal the past. It would only fracture a present built on stability. Madi chose silence, not because she lacked courage, but because she possessed it. This choice weighed heavily on her. She returned home carrying a truth she could not share easily. Everest sensed the change before she spoke. Her movements slowed, her gaze drifted. Even the paintings grew quieter, less vibrant, as if color itself hesitated. When she finally told him, her voice was steady, but the words cut deeply. Everest listened, torn between outrage and helplessness. His instinct was to confront, to fix, to reclaim what had been taken. But this was not a problem that strength could solve. The tension between them grew in the days that followed. Everest struggled to accept a choice that required surrender. He spoke carelessly, allowing frustration to shape his words. In trying to protect her, he wounded her. He questioned whether silence truly served love, whether distance was not another form of loss. Madi heard the fear beneath his arguments, but the pain remained. The truth had shifted something fundamental between them. Not their love, but the way they carried it. As her health declined, the weight of unspoken sorrow became heavier. Madi's body, long accustomed to endurance, began to falter. Simple tasks required rest. Painting, once her refuge, demanded more effort than she could give. Doctors offered little beyond comfort. She accepted this without protest. Her concern was not for herself, but for Everest. She began to prepare him quietly, offering practical advice disguised as casual remarks. She asked him to keep dogs, to maintain routines, to live fully, even when she could no longer be present. Everest resisted these conversations fiercely. He dismissed them, joked poorly, and changed the subject. Accepting her mortality felt like betrayal. Yet when the moment came, it arrived swiftly. One night, pain overwhelmed her fragile strength. Everest rushed her to the hospital, clinging to the hope that urgency might still matter. It did not. As she lay fading, clarity replaced fear. Madi spoke gently, reassuring him not with promises, but with gratitude. She thanked him for giving her a home, a voice, and a life that felt complete. In those final moments, Everest understood what love had asked of him all along. Not control, not protection, acceptance. He held her hand, letting go of the need to argue with reality. His grief was raw, unfiltered, stripped of pride. He confessed his love without restraint, not because words could save her, but because they could finally be honest. Madi passed peacefully, freed from pain, leaving behind a stillness that felt both devastating and sacred. After her death, the house changed again. Silence returned, but it was no longer empty. It carried memory. Everest moved through the rooms carefully, touching objects she had shaped, walls she had colored, spaces she had transformed. He found the old notice she had once taken from town, folded and hidden away, Only then did he realize that she had chosen him long before he had chosen her. The truth humbled him. Love that lets go does not vanish. It settles. It reshapes the way one breathes, remembers, and continues. Everest learned to live with absence without denying connection. Madi's choice to remain silent for her daughter's sake became the final expression of her strength. She had loved without possession, given without demand, and left without bitterness. In doing so, she taught Everest the hardest lesson of all, that sometimes love is not about holding on. It is about knowing when to step back and trusting that what you protected will continue to live, even beyond you. Slowed, the wooden house by the sea stood as it always had, but it no longer felt the same. Silence filled the rooms, not as emptiness, but as presence. It carried her voice, her patience, her quiet persistence. Every corner held evidence of a life that had once learned how to bloom there. Everest moved through the house carefully, as if sudden gestures might disturb something sacred. For a long time, he did not speak of her. Words felt inadequate, almost intrusive. He continued his routines because routine was the only structure he trusted. He rose early, went out on the water, returned before nightfall. Yet even in repetition, change revealed itself. He cooked meals she once prepared. He cleaned without complaint. He paused before the painted walls, letting his eyes rest where her hands had lingered. Only then did he understand that love does not disappear when the person is gone. It changes shape and asks to be carried forward. People spoke of Madi with admiration now. They spoke of her strength, her art, her story. Everest listened without correcting them. He knew truths that could not be explained easily. He knew that her greatness had never come from recognition. It had come from endurance, from choosing kindness when bitterness would have been easier, from creating beauty in spaces that offered her nothing in return. To him, that was the truest measure of her life. In time, Everest learned to speak differently, not more often, but more honestly. He no longer hid behind sharpness or silence when gentleness was required. Madi had taught him that love was not something one guarded by force. It was something one practiced daily through patience and restraint. He began helping others without being asked. He listened when someone struggled to find words. He noticed those who were overlooked. In small ways, he carried her forward into the world. What love truly means, he realized, was not perfection or sacrifice alone. It was attention. It was learning another person's pace and choosing to walk beside it, even when it slowed you down. Love was sanding the wood where someone might stumble. It was bringing color without expecting praise. It was standing quietly while another person found their voice and never rushing them when it trembled. Madi had lived most of her life being told what she could not do, where she did not belong, and how little she mattered. Yet she had answered that cruelty not with anger, but with creation. She painted hope where walls were bare. She built home where shelter had been cold. She loved without asking the world for permission. In doing so, she changed Everest, not by force, but by example. Years later, when strangers passed the house by the sea, they still noticed the paintings. They noticed the care with which the place was kept. Some asked about the woman who once lived there. Everest answered simply. He said she taught him how to live. That was enough. Love did not need embellishment. It needed truth. What love truly means is not finding someone flawless. It is recognizing brokenness in yourself and in another, and choosing connection anyway. It is staying when leaving would be easier. It is letting go when holding on would cause harm. It is understanding that some bonds are not measured by time, but by depth. Madi and Everest shared such a bond, one born not of convenience or fantasy, but of shared endurance. In the end, love was not the life they imagined, but the life they built quietly, imperfectly, honestly. And even after Madi's passing, that love remained, steady as the tide, shaping the shore long after the wave itself had withdrawn.